A CVS employee was fatally stabbed while working on a Christmas Day shift in New York. The attack happened at just before 7 p.m. on Thursday the 25th of December 2025 at the CVS on East Montauk Highway in Lindenhurst, a village in Suffolk County on Long Island. When officers arrived, they found 23-year-old Edeedson Eddy Ciné Jr. behind the counter with a stab wound to his chest. Eddy was rushed to Good Samaritan Hospital Medical Center in West Islip, where he was pronounced dead. Eddy's father later shared that his son hadn't been scheduled to work that night. He stepped in at the last minute to cover a co-worker's shift. The suspect, 43-year-old John Pilaccio of Lindenhurst, was arrested the following evening at his Palm Street home, less than half a mile away from the CVS. John allegedly admitted to the killing and voluntarily left with officers when they arrived to take him into custody. Investigators reviewed surveillance footage from inside the store. Prosecutors say the video shows John walking through the CVS before approaching the front counter, where Eddy was working. They say John suddenly lunged at Eddy with a knife, stabbing him in the chest, then jumped over the counter to continue the attack. During John's arraignment on Saturday the 27th of December, prosecutors revealed that he told police he carried out the stabbing because he was overwhelmed by personal financial debt. They say he demanded money from Eddy, and when Eddy refused, he attacked him. John, who described himself as a restaurant general manager, has been charged with second-degree murder. He pleaded not guilty in Suffolk First District Court and is being held without bond. He is scheduled to return to court on Wednesday the 31st of December. On the 17th of December 2025, 28-year-old Shae Etress was arrested in Pell City, Alabama, on 2 counts of second-degree sexual abuse and 2 counts of second-degree sodomy. She was booked into the St. Clair County Jail at 12:23 p.m. and released less than an hour later at 1:20 p.m. on a $72,000 bond. Under Alabama law, second-degree sexual abuse applies when someone 19 or older has unlawful sexual contact with a person between 12 and 16, or with someone who cannot legally consent due to a mental impairment. The charge is usually a Class A misdemeanor, but it can be upgraded to a Class C felony if it occurs within a year of another sexual offense. Second-degree sodomy is defined as engaging in prohibited sexual conduct with a person aged 12 to 16, or someone who is unable to consent because of a mental impairment. This offense is a Class B felony and carries a potential sentence of 2 to 20 years if convicted. A long-running dispute between neighbours turned deadly on Christmas night in Lauderhill, Florida. At around 10:25 p.m. on the 25th of December 2025, officers responded to the Sunny Lake Apartments on Northwest 56th Avenue on reports of a disturbance turning violent. When they arrived, they found a woman lying in the street with at least 1 gunshot wound. She was pronounced dead at the scene. Investigators identified the victim as 36-year-old Octavia Stewart, a mother who neighbours said had lived in the complex for years with a daughter and was known to be friendly. Neighbours told investigators that people from 2 apartments had been arguing on and off throughout the day after holiday celebrations spilled outside. They said the dispute stemmed from drinking, noise complaints and parking issues. Tensions had been simmering for more than a day. Later that night, the situation escalated. In a cell phone video, a woman is seen in an orange dress waving a gun. A neighbour reported that Octavia had pointed a firearm at someone moments before a man shot her. She collapsed instantly as screams followed. Residents said the gunman was not a tenant but a guest, described as a relative of one of the neighbours involved in the dispute. Authorities have not publicly identified him, but confirmed that all individuals have been located and are accounted for at this time. Detectives believe the shooting was an isolated incident and say there is no ongoing threat to the public. Police are investigating after a 25-year-old woman was fatally shot in the West Chatham neighborhood of Chicago, Illinois. Authorities said that around 5:20 p.m. on the 26th of December 2025, the woman was walking through an alley near the 8000 block of South Harvard Avenue when she heard a loud noise and realized that she had been shot. She had suffered a single gunshot wound to the head. She was taken to the University of Chicago Medical Center in a critical condition and was later pronounced dead. The Cook County Medical Examiner's Office identified her as Kayla Williams. Family members shared that Kayla was set to graduate from nursing school in January of 2026. No arrests have been made to date, and the investigation remains ongoing. A man is behind bars accused of fatally shooting his mother during an argument. At 8:28 a.m. on Saturday the 27th of December 2025, deputies responded to a reported shooting at a home on 344 Main Street in Corinth, Maine. When they arrived, they found a woman deceased from an apparent gunshot wound. She has been identified as 41-year-old Abigail Thomas. According to the preliminary investigation, Abigail had been involved in an altercation with her son, 22-year-old Daniel Derosier, who also lived at the residence. Abigail's body was transported to the office of Chief Medical Examiner in Augusta for an autopsy. Daniel was taken into custody and charged with murder. He's been transported to the Penobscot County Jail. The investigation remains active, and no additional details have been released at this time. 3 suspects from Massachusetts have been arrested after a man was lured from a casino floor to a hotel room and robbed at knife point. At 1:43 a.m. on the 29th of December 2025, police responded to a reported robbery at Bally's Hotel Casino in Lincoln, Rhode Island. Investigators say the 2 19-year-old women, Naushka Machuca of Marlborough and Tashawana and Tuckta-Warner of Boston, approached a male victim on the casino floor and enticed him to a private hotel room. Once inside, the victim was confronted by 28-year-old Dominyck Sims of Worcester, who threatened him with a knife and stole more than $1,500 in cash. The victim was then allowed to leave, but was instructed not to contact authorities. Following a coordinated investigation, officers located and arrested all 3 suspects. Dominyck's charged with first-degree robbery, conspiracy, weapons other than firearms prohibited, and disorderly conduct. Naushka and Tashawana are each charged with first-degree robbery and conspiracy. Naushka faces an additional charge of disorderly conduct. A couple is behind bars charged with murder in the stabbing death of a woman inside their apartment building. At 10:03 p.m. on the 27th of December 2025, officers responded to 1182 Ogden Avenue in the Bronx, New York on reports of a disturbance. When they arrived, they found a woman in a critical condition inside a 6th-floor apartment with multiple stab wounds to her face and abdomen. Investigators also discovered blood spatter in the building's stairwell. She was rushed to a local hospital, where she was pronounced dead. The victim was identified as 30-year-old Shashamanie Thompson. According to detectives, the violence began inside an elevator. Investigators say that 21-year-old Saleh Ceesay allegedly came up from behind and restrained Shashamanie as the elevator reached the 6th floor. Police say 24-year-old Beyonce Johnson then pulled out a knife and stabbed Shashamanie multiple times before she was thrown out of the elevator and into the hallway. Despite her injuries, Shashamanie was still conscious when officers arrived. Prosecutors say she identified her attacker before she died, telling police the girl in 6D did this, referring to Beyonce's apartment. Neighbours reported hearing yelling and screams for help shortly before the attack. Authorities say the dispute may have stemmed from ongoing issues involving Shashamanie's dog running loose in the hallway. Some neighbours described her as confrontational, while others said she was a devoted mother who walked her son to school every day. Both suspects were taken into custody and charged with murder and manslaughter. Saleh was ordered held without bond, while Beyonce's arraignment is pending as she remains hospitalised following her arrest. A man is behind bars for allegedly killing his grandparents. At 9:24 a.m. on the 31st of December 2025, deputies with the Pitt County Sheriff's Office responded to a home at 628 Deborah Court in Greenville, North Carolina, after receiving a report of injured individuals. When they arrived, deputies found 2 residents deceased, and the case was immediately treated as a double homicide. The victims were identified as 73-year-old Rayfield Ruffin and his wife 67-year-old Frances Ruffin. Investigators say both had suffered blunt force trauma as well as knife wounds. Major Crimes and Forensic Services units processed the scene and took over the investigation. During the early stages of the search, detectives patrolling the area located 34-year-old Martinez Ruffin walking a few miles from the crime scene, along a roadway carrying a knife and wearing clothes that investigators later collected as evidence. He was taken into custody without incident. Martinez, the victim's grandson and a resident of the home, has been charged with 2 open counts of murder and 2 counts of assault with a deadly weapon, with intent to kill, inflicting serious injury. He's been held without bond at the Pitt County Detention Center. No additional details have been released. A pregnant woman was killed and a man was injured in an early morning shooting. At 1:34 a.m. on Wednesday the 31st of December 2025, 19-year-old Kendall Berrington was fatally shot inside the Marathon gas station at 1411 Court Street in Saginaw, Michigan. A 22-year-old man who was with her was also shot and remains hospitalized. According to investigators, Kendall and the wounded man had just walked into the 24-hour store when an unidentified male opened fire and then fled. Police emphasized that the shooting was not an attempted robbery. Kendall was due to deliver her first child on the 14th of January. Detectives say they are conducting a full investigation, but no arrests have been made to date. A 23-year-old Muncie, Indiana man has been arrested on 2 felony counts of child molesting. According to public records, Russell Eugene Farr was booked into the Madison County Jail in Indiana on the 17th of December 2025 and was released 2 days later after posting a $50,000 bond. He is charged with 2 counts of child molesting, one a level 3 felony and the other a level 4 felony. An affidavit for probable cause filed in September 2024 alleges that Russell inappropriately touched a juvenile between February of 2020 and December of 2021. During the investigation, police interviewed the juvenile, who described the inappropriate touching as something she had come to view as normal. She told investigators that on the specific incident they asked about, she'd been watching Netflix when Russell touched her. She said she tried to act as though she didn't notice and continued watching television. Records show a warrant for Russell's arrest was issued on the 3rd of October 2024, but it was not served until the 17th of December 2025. Police also interviewed Russell, and he denied touching the juvenile inappropriately. Russell appeared in court for his initial hearing on the 18th of December. A future court date has not yet been scheduled. A man is behind bars accused of fatally shooting another man during an altercation. At just before 2:30 a.m. on the 1st of January 2026, police responded to an apartment building at 308 Court Avenue in Des Moines, Iowa, on reports of shots fired. When officers arrived, they found 30-year-old Tony Alexander Young in a critical condition suffering from multiple gunshot wounds. Medics rushed him to the Unity Point Methodist Medical Center, where he was pronounced dead. Investigators quickly identified 31-year-old Jordan Isaac Carmi as the suspect. Jordan was detained at the scene inside his apartment where the altercation occurred. According to police, the dispute escalated and Jordan used a handgun to shoot Tony. Detectives later recovered a firearm believed to be connected to the case in Walnut Creek, near the North Valley Drive Bridge. Jordan was arrested and charged with first-degree murder. No further details have been released as the investigation continues. 28-year-old Kristin Bass is behind bars accused of intentionally killing her infant daughter. At 8:21 p.m. on the 1st of January 2026, police responded to a residence on Calcasieu Street in Sulphur, Louisiana, after receiving reports of a shooting. Inside the home, officers found a 1-year-old girl, identified by her father Bradley Moss as Acelynn Moss, had been shot and killed. Bradley reported he heard a loud boom coming from another part of the home, and ran into the room where he found Acelynn critically injured and Kristin allegedly holding a firearm. He said their 2-year-old daughter was also in the room crying for help. According to Bradley, Kristin said, "I just sent our baby to God," and that their older daughter was next. Kristin was taken into custody at the scene and later charged with first-degree murder. Her bond has been set at $10 million. The case remains under investigation.